Queen Victoria may be amused to learn that education has changed little in its approach since her day. Pupils gathered in schools, sat in classes, listening to an adult. But a breakthrough to a new era could be about to happen. In this programme, we'll be exploring developments that could reshape education in a single generation. Developments in how we teach.
One particular area of research is in digital paper. The idea being that you have something that is a relatively familiar device to you, it's something you can take with you and you can roll up or screw it up and put it in your pocket, but that it can display a whole range of media.
Developments in where we teach.
I think the concept of schools as like these factory-based systems is fated to wither, and I think the walls will start to go and education will start to be dispersed into the community in all sorts of interesting ways.
And developments in who or what does the teaching.
It leaves the teacher accessing and developing new skills. There'll be supporters of learning, brokers, mentors, facilitators, quality assurers, leaders, leaders towards where students and families will access the education.
We'll also be asking whether the future can already be found at this school in the United States, a school which offers the ultimate in personalisation, with no timetables, no lessons and no teaching.
I don't have any doubt that this model is the future, because we don't really think that people learn much from teaching. Learning is a self-initiated process. It's not something that happens from outside.
Of course, it's impossible to see into the future, but it is possible to recognise the potential that's being offered by emerging technologies.
Virtual headsets, so like in World War I, you could go back and see how people fought and stuff.
These predictions are from Year 8 pupils at Ashton Park Secondary in Bristol, in a session led by a researcher from Future Lab, an organisation set up to support new technologies in education.
A hologramic teacher that's on your table, so if you don't get it, you ask the hologramic teacher and she'll tell you what to do.
It may seem like the stuff of science fiction, but fantasy could turn into reality because of the expansion in computing power. Processing speed and memory capacity is increasing at an inexorable rate, in line with what's called Moore's Law.
Moore's Law sets out that the number of chips on a piece of silicon will double roughly every 2 years, and at the same time as they're doubling, the price of those chips will become an awful lot cheaper. So a piece of technology today that costs about £1,000, in about 10 years will be worth about £32. In about 20 years' time, it'll be about £1.
It means computing becomes more powerful, more affordable, and as accessible as paper.
However, there's no reason why that couldn't be automatically updated every time there's new content, and whether that be every 3 months, or even updated daily with new stories as they emerge, or even someone's blog that's updated half daily or every hour.
Another real possibility is 3D simulators, which could become as common as interactive whiteboards.
Now, the sorts of reasons that's quite exciting is the way in which you can completely transform the space the learners are in, and you can take a classroom back in time and make it a Victorian classroom, for example. And you can have children wandering around the desks or looking at the relationship between their real environments and touching the tables, and then looking at the virtual environment they're surrounded in. Or you can be going on some sort of expedition and looking at the Himalayas and doing things which you can't do inside a real classroom at the moment. However, you can begin to augment those classrooms and make those experiences, if not real, then richer, perhaps.
Data storage is also expanding rapidly. It could soon be possible to keep limitless amounts of information. An entire lifetime could be recorded.
One of the reasons you want to begin to collect experiences or data is to help you reflect on what you've been doing. So reflection is a very important part of learning, without question. But also so you can relate different experiences you've had in terms of sharing them with other people. Walking around Bristol Harbour, I walked past some really new, modern science equipment and buildings. And then as I turned right and walked up to the cathedral, it's like a 400-year-old building, that juxtaposition between the old and the new is really striking. So at the moment, I'm perhaps struggling to tell you exactly how it was, but if I could project that image to you somehow and help and talk you through my tour, then perhaps we can have a richer and more meaningful conversation about the things that I was thinking.
Away from technology, another revolution is underway which would liberate learners from the school day and the school building. Deryn Harvey, once a head teacher, is now a director of the Innovation Unit. Today she's visiting the Brit School in South London, regarded as one of the most progressive schools in the country, with its emphasis on creative and vocational learning. It also has strong links with the surrounding community, which it serves with its own radio station. In the future, however, education and community could become totally integrated.
To get what it's about. But next up is a poem by Louis.
I suspect that if we're looking 20 years ahead, 20, 30 years ahead, we may be looking at this kind of facility in a school, but it will be open for the community, or this kind of facility in a community that's open for learners. Because I think the issue is, where will the learners be? They might be in the community, they might be with an employer, they might be in a traditional school, they might be in a library, they might be at the police station, and I don't mean because they've been sent there, but because, you know, police, social services, any of the multi-agencies...
You're talking about work experience?
I'm talking about work experience, but I'm also talking providing learning and education.
According to the Innovation Unit, the future is emerging here in Bedfordshire. At Biddenham Upper School, a unique experiment started 6 years ago when it became not so much a school as an optional resource. These pupils are all registered with the school, but they only attend lessons requiring specialist equipment.
I'm a great believer that the current education system is a little bit anachronistic. We are beginning to see the early development of what you might call demand-driven, parent-led, collaborative learning that is not school-based but is community-based. And I actually think this is the way education will go.
When the pupils are not at school, they're learning at home or going to other centres in the community, such as this gymnasium. More than 120 children are involved, each enrolled at either the upper school or a feeder lower school. The schools receive funding for them, but hand it over to a network called the Parent-Led Community-Based Education Initiative, or PLACE Initiative for short.
Oh gosh, we've all sorts of activities that take place all week. On Mondays we've got Italian, that's actually run by the Italian consulate, a native speaker comes in. We have swimming lessons at an open swimming pool for all ages, from mother and toddler through to highly competent swimmers. We have French groups, art groups, we have the gymnastics, the trampoline, multi-sports. They can pursue their interests and their talents in a way that is quite difficult in a school situation.
It's allowed these two sisters, now coaching younger children, to develop their own talent as gymnasts to national level.
Show me your landing and stretch.
It's helped me a lot because I train in the afternoons and I have a lot more leeway and everything because I don't have to be in the school all the time. I can do it at home with my mum, either at night or other times of the day.
The initiative mostly uses the upper school for science lessons, paying for the resources and the teaching when all the other pupils have gone home.
Here we go.
This mix and match model of education is almost inevitable, according to the Innovation Unit.
A school at the moment, a secondary school, would typically have anything from 600 to 2,000 students. These could be smaller hubs. They could be much smaller units where you would have learning mentors, supporters who would be trained in knowing how to access education for the students. So they wouldn't have to be large institutions, there'd be no need for them. They would be niche institutions where the students would have a relationship with guides, coaches, whatever the term would be, but they would ensure and quality assure the education to which those families would be entitled for their children.
Biddenham is also providing as much flexibility as it can for all its 1,000 pupils, allowing them out of school and off timetable to pursue their interests. Matt from Year 12 leaves to attend dance lessons, a skill he's now trying to teach to teachers.
They are very good pupils. My best one so far, after about 3 years of doing it, they're fantastic. Is this the future, do you think, blurring the line between teacher and pupil?
I think we learn from what they do with us. I think if we can get what they want us to be able to do across, it does help us become better teachers as well, as much as it will obviously do with Matthew if he wants to go into a career eventually where he's leading people himself.
1, 2, 3, 4.
While Matt hopes his steps and his passion will turn him into a champion dancer, Phil has already realised his ambition. He was given the space and support he needed to create a radio station at the school, leading to a full-time job on BBC local radio. He's returned today to be interviewed about his experience.
Didn't the project distract you from your academic studies?
I don't think personally it did pull away from my studies. It became part of it, and I learned more through doing it during schooling because I was spending the time researching A, how to build a radio station, B, how to run it, and C, how to make it a success at the same time.
I think the idea of a knowledge-based curriculum is fated to wither. We don't guarantee that children are going to learn certain packages of knowledge like we do in the national curriculum, but they have certain sets of experiences. You have the experience of leading groups, you have the experience of perhaps running a sports team for a short time, you have the experience of a foreign trip.
So you go to your employer and say, look what I've done.
Yeah, look what experiences and hopefully the skills that have come from those experiences. Look what experiences I bring to you, not look what knowledge I bring to you. Because in a lot of senses, what employers, beyond literacy and numeracy and an ability to communicate, most employers want to actually train you in their particular way of doing things, rather than us necessarily try and guess what those employers want.
At primary level, Robin Hood School in Birmingham has also reached out to the future and introduced a number of significant changes.
你好吗？很好，谢谢。你好吗？很好，谢谢。
One result can be seen and heard in this classroom, where the school's languages specialist is teaching Mandarin.
It's a blossoming language that's really becoming more and more popular. Where I'm learning it myself, there's loads of courses going. It's not just my course, and it's for business. It's one of those languages, I think, that's for the future, definitely.
In younger classes, meanwhile, the teaching is no longer dictated by the teachers. The children themselves have a say in what they do and learn during the morning. It's called negotiated learning. Each morning, children plan activities with their teachers and with their parents or carers, who then stay for the first half hour.